Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into the incredibly fascinating worldview found in the teachings and writings of Guy Shufeng from Lifechanyuan. We're going to unpack the intricate philosophy of karma, worldly debts, and spiritual ascension. Whether you're super familiar with Eastern philosophy or this is totally new to you, we're going to map out exactly how our daily, seemingly normal interactions are actively shaping our ultimate spiritual destiny.
To really ground this spiritual framework, we have to start by asking a question that anchors these big, esoteric concepts right into our everyday lives. Why do we cross paths with the exact people we do? Think about your parents, your closest friends, your coworkers, or even your worst enemies. Is it just random luck? Well, according to Guy Shufeng, there's absolutely no such thing as a random meeting. There is a hidden architecture behind every single encounter you have.
We'll be mapping out this journey in 5 clear steps, starting with the law of karma, moving on to resolving mundane bonds, then detaching from the world, harnessing the power of formless giving, and finally, forming celestial ties.
Let's dive right into Section 1, the law of karma.
Guy Shufeng teaches that every relationship you have is categorically rooted in past karma. It's basically a cosmic ledger. For instance, the bond between parents and children? That's not just a biological thing. Those are past debts and obligations that literally pull a soul back into reincarnation just to repay them. Then you've got adversaries. That's unresolved animosity that can drag you into deep trouble, or worse, hellish outcomes. But cultivating enlightened affinity with celestials leads to totally different transcendent results. The core takeaway here is that there is absolutely no love without cause and no hatred without reason.
And the sheer scale of this framework is mind-blowing. These karmic bonds are incredibly stubborn. You can't just move to a new city to escape somebody and start fresh. These bonds span across entirely different realms of existence. We're talking the thousand-year world, the blissful world, the animal kingdom, and even the frozen layer. If you owe a karmic debt, that bond is locked in place until it's fundamentally resolved, no matter where your soul actually resides.
Moving on to Section 2, let's look at how we actually resolve these mundane bonds.
Here's where the teachings draw a really stark, dualistic contrast. On one side, you have mundane bonds, or Chenyuan. These are your earthly debts, and they're essentially spiritual anchors that trap you in the cycle of reincarnation. The heavier your worldly debt, the lower your life level drops. On the flip side, you have celestial ties, or Xianyuan. These are the connections that elevate and liberate you. So the entire goal of this practice is to meticulously clear out the mundane and enthusiastically cultivate the celestial.
To show just how strict this universal accounting system is, the Lifechanyuan text actually invokes a teaching from Jesus. You will not get out until you have paid the last penny. If you owe a debt in this life and you just ignore it, the ledger doesn't just magically clear when you pass away. It rolls over. It forces you to remain in the human world until the balance hits exactly 0. Basically, there are 0 spiritual bankruptcies allowed here.
Which brings us to this fascinating core principle. Better to let others owe me than to owe others. I know, it sounds a bit counterintuitive to how we usually view relationships, where we want a perfectly equal give and take, right? But in this framework, you deliberately want to give more and take less. By taking less, you guarantee you aren't secretly piling up hidden debts that'll trap you later. Being owed is spiritually safe. Owing is a trap. You are actively protecting your future freedom.
So looking at Section 3, detaching from the world, how do we practically apply this idea of taking less in our messy, everyday lives?
The source provides some really grounded advice. You absolutely have to honor your parents and raise your children. That's a mandatory mechanism to repay the fundamental debt of your own upbringing. But beyond that, the text strongly warns against deep emotional entanglements with mortals. If you're a doctor, you must firmly reject extra gratitude or gifts from patients. If you're an official, absolutely no bribes or extra rewards. It might feel nice in the short term, but the teachings warn that you are blindly planting seeds for future suffering. You're taking out a karmic loan you will have to repay.
Guy Shufeng's writings use these incredibly vivid metaphors to explain this. Proximity to vermilion makes you red. Proximity to ink makes you black. It's like if you stand by a river long enough, your shoes are going to get wet. If you associate with wicked individuals, you will inevitably get tangled in their karmic mess. If they go down, their ties might physically and spiritually drag you down with them, just to resolve the connection. So, maintaining a strict distance from harmful influences is absolutely paramount.
But that raises a massive question for Section 4.
What happens if the person you owe a profound debt to is no longer around, like a deceased parent you haven't fully repaid?
Enter an elegant karmic workaround called formless giving. This isn't just writing a check to get a thank you. Formless giving means doing incredibly generous acts purely for the sake of spiritual merit, with zero attachment to the outcome and seeking absolutely no worldly recognition. You are giving simply for the sake of giving.
Think of it like a cosmic banking app. Let's say you owe a debt to someone who's passed away. First, you do selfless acts for total strangers. Because you aren't looking for a reward from them, your spiritual wealth gets deposited straight into the bank of the Tao. Then, the Tao, the universal operating system, automatically acts as a middleman. It takes that merit and pays off your lingering debt to the original person. Boom! The ledger is cleared without you ever having to interact with the original creditor. It's such a profound way to resolve the past by serving the present. And finally, Section 5. Forming celestial ties. Once those earthly debts hit zero through formless giving, you are ready for the final stage. The teachings note that interacting with enlightened individuals brings profound joy, not worldly trouble. There's an old saying quoted here, "When one person attains the Tao, even their household rises to heaven." It highlights the sheer, immense power of celestial ties. The spiritual attainment of one truly enlightened person creates this massive upward draft that can lift up everyone deeply connected to them.
And Guide Shufeng actually puts a specific number on this goal, 10. If you can form deep, genuine bonds with just 10 Lifechanyuan celestials, people destined for the celestial world, a powerful phenomenon happens. Those 10 ties will act like a spiritual gravitational pull. They will naturally catch you, guide you, and draw you right up into the celestial world alongside them. Your celestial network literally becomes your vehicle for ascension.
So, as we wrap up our journey through the Lifechanyuan framework, from the strict ledgers of mundane debts to the liberating power of celestial ties, I want to leave you with something to think about. If every single interaction, every conversation, every transaction is a thread forming a lasting karmic tie, what kind of bonds are you forming today? Are they anchoring you to the mundane world, or are they pulling you up towards something much higher?